Okay, so now you play with black against Rajkovic.
Yeah, Rajkovic was a very dangerous tactical player from Yugoslavia, a very good grandmaster. And playing with white, he started with c4, and after my move c5, we have a typical English defense, for white, where black plays almost the same, I mean, symmetrical position, but the theory considers that white is slightly better after the opening, because plays the first move, of course.
Yes.
But it's not so clear, you'll see. So bishop g7, knight c3, knight c6, a3, a6, rook b1, rook b8. Well,
But
right
this is
now,
theory so far?
this is theory, everything is theory. And now after b4, if white continues with b4 instead of queen a4, queen a4 is a move that wants to have a small advantage for white, a new move in that period, Now after b4, c takes b4, a takes b4, b5, the game is completely even and more or less drawish, yeah. But of course, playing with white, he tries to have something, I mean, to have a small advantage, And after queen a4, knight d4. Instead of knight d4, black can play also here knight h6. And after knight h6, I played, for instance, this position against Seirawan, a very strong American grandmaster, knight h6. And after knight h6, b4 takes him b4, a takes b4, b5, b5 takes him b5, takes him b5, knight takes b5, queen b6. Yeah, knight a3, knight takes b4, knight h3, knight f5. The game is very, very complicated. White is a little bit better, but anyway, in our game, finally black won. But it's more or less very complicated, let's say. In my opinion, white is a little bit better here. So anyway, I think knight d4 is an improvement, is a best move for black. Anyway, knight d4 instead of knight h6. So after knight d4, he plays normal e3, and now b5. This is the idea. But now, you see, after b5, he takes in b5, and now the normal move is knight takes b5. But instead of knight takes b5, you have the possibility to lose quickly with black by taking with the pawn. If you take with the pawn, it's a big mistake. After queen a7, you are probably lost already with black. Because the rook is attacked, the knight is attacked.
The knight is attacked?
Yeah, and now if you go back to c6 with the knight, he takes with the bishop in c6, and black is lost. You see? The rook is again under attack, and you lose a piece. Somehow.
Yes.
Okay, so knight takes b5, of course, and this is balanced, the position. Now it's okay. Now he plays knight e2, knight f6, castle, castle. Right. Until now, everything is all right, but black has no problem immediately after the opening. I want to see. Yeah. So now he played d3, d6, of course, b4. Okay. Now is the first important moment. What to do now here with black? Black has a very good position, but you have to play the best moves. I mean, now if you take, for instance, immediately now in b4, after rook takes b4, is not clear at all who is better. Probably white is a little bit better here. But you don't take in b4, and you play something with the bishop. Bishop f5 is a very strong move. Now, again, if he takes now in a6, you take in d3, and it's clear that black is okay. Black is already better. Much better, or, advantage anyway for black. Yeah. So he has to play e4, no? Rook d1. And now c4. This is the first very important moment, because the game is completely unbalanced now, you see. It's very complicated, but black is okay in all positions. You have to play very well, I mean, the move order, but black has no problem. He solved very well the opening problems, and in my opinion, black has already a small edge or a bigger edge already, after the opening. So, okay, so after c4, he plays e4, yeah, bishop g4 to complicate again too much. I mean, now you want to take in c3 and you win something, So he has to play very, very well with white to avoid any surprise, tactical surprise. So he plays f3, and now after f3, queen b6 check. It was probably already better to to play immediately bishop d7. Okay, after queen b6 check is good. King h1. It was probably better to play d4 instead of king h1. Now after king h1, black, realized the opening idea and is clearly better after king h1. So the bishop takes in d3, of course, rook takes d3, and now goes to e6, threatening to come with tempo in c4. So after a few moves in the opening and the middle game, it's clear that black has already a very good position. Bishop e3, queen b7. Everything will be played now on the queen side and on the central squares. You see, rook c1. Rook c8, yeah, knight d4, and bishop c4, exactly on time. So now he has to retreat the rook, of course, and a very good move, knight d7. The idea from black is very clear. He wants to come, if possible, to e5, and then he's threatening already to come to d3, with very big advantage for black. So bishop h3, of course, e6. Yeah, you don't give any tactical possibility. And it seems that he has a good counterplay because the pawn from d6 at the first glance is a little bit weak, but nothing happens, of course. So you take back, and now a good move because after queen c2, okay, black was much better. He wants to trade the queen, but of course we agree to trade queens, okay, and now rook a8, and he has to go back to d4, hoping that somehow the game will be, more or less even if you are obliged to trade bishop, but you are not obliged to take bishop in d4. So knight e5 is very good. Now probably the best way to do it is bishop takes e5 because it was already a very unpleasant threat, knight d3. If black can play knight d3, white is already almost lost. Yeah. So has to take, bishop takes e5, f4. And bishop b3, very nasty surprise. Now he loses the exchange in all variations. Okay? Everything is attacked. The black bishop is attacked, but black has time to attack the rook. And if you take in the e5, you lose, by force the exchange after bishop takes d1. So he took in b5. And now you took in d1. I mean, black takes in d1. He has to take in d1. He hopes somehow to hold the position, but it's not enough. I mean, you have the exchange, very tactical position, and black is in all this kind of position. White is worse. The bishop from h3 has not a good position for the moment, and the end game is lost for white in any case. But you have to play very well until the end. So now rook takes d6, rook takes b2, and very important, check in d1. Why is very important? Because now the bishop from h3 is a little bit out of play.
Yeah. Cannot
the best way the best square for the bishop was an f1 or on g2. But in h3 is a little bit too far, and he has many problems in any endgame, you see. So rook takes h3, and now king f2, and rook e1. Now it was probably the only moment where he could play probably a little bit better, bishop g4. But okay, he played bishop f1. Okay, and now after bishop f1, you play there, you take with check, you see, and now bishop e2, and now the winning move, rook a4. Why is the winning move? Because you win by force a pawn. any endgame 4 against 4, rook against bishop is 1 for black, you know. I mean, if you play rook and 4 pawns against bishop and 4 pawns is lost in any case for white.
Before
Now
st-
the only hope for him is to have for a few moves the free pawn from b4. I mean, he has to advance the pawn anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So b5, and now he loses the pawn from e4, and we have this endgame where black is winning, but you have to play very well until the end. I told you. Now the best idea now is to put the rook in b4. No, I play
Yes.
bishop b4, rook b4, and then come quickly with the king, f8, e7, d6. This is the best way to play, and any endgame is winning for black. You know?
So the idea with the black king is to catch
Yeah,
it.
to catch the pawn. You know, if you have time to come with the rook, with the king in d6, any endgame is winning. You see? Because the king is very close. You know, and then with the rook you can move and attack the pawns from the other side, and it's winning anyway. You know. Yeah. So now, okay, king c3, rook a4, and now rook down. And now, if he plays, for instance, b6, king d6 wins, you know, because the king is, you know, is there, you know. And
If he plays
e6, okay,
if he plays b6, you cannot
king d6, yeah.
Yes,
king
yes,
d6 wins,
yeah.
because the king is there, and you have time to attack all the pawns from the other side, and yeah, it's completely winning. And now, after king b4, queen d6, bishop e4. What did I play? Rook e1. Now he played bishop c6 and he resigned.
Yes.
Why? Because now it's very clear. You have time, for instance, to play rook e2. Yeah.
Yes.
Rook e2, h3, for instance, rook e3, and he loses every pawn. You know. Here. No, rook e3 is better. You attack from e3. Yeah. E3. So if he moves g4, he loses the pawn from h3, and it's clear. 4 against 2 is completely winning. You know. No, but rook against rook is much too strong, yeah, of course. But you had to play. I mean, black had to play very precisely. You know, any endgame is winning, but you have to prove it. You have to show how. You see, yeah. But the game was very interesting tactically. You know, after the opening, in the middle game was very important move order. You know, and the game after our game in Lompine. It was good variation recommended on the very high level for black. I mean, everybody played like this with black, and it was clear that black has a good game. And it was important theoretically. You know? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You are.